Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So we have a brand new Mission Inspiration set of prompts over on our Mission Inspiration Facebook group. I'll put the link on screen now, but there's also a clickable one in the description area below this video. So I've gathered all my bits and pieces, I've got my focal points ready, I've got my paints, I've got my stencils, I've got everything I need to create my art journal project for the month of September using the Mission Inspiration prompts as my guide. So I'll switch over to my overhead camera and show you what I'm going to create. So to begin with, I've printed off the prompts for the month of September, as you can see. So we've got the 3 colours, the 5 words, and our list of ingredients to include, but not necessarily in order. So I've gone through my stash, pulling out bits and pieces that I think I might use for this art journal page. So I've pulled a page from an old National Geographic magazine. I've got a couple of focal points. I've pulled out a stencil. I've got some texture paste handy. Ta-da, structure paste. My 3 colours that I've got, the nearest I can get, because even I don't have every single colour under the sun, the nearest I've got to rust, apart from rust paste, which is textured that I don't particularly want to use or may not use, I've got honey brown from Deco, which is a kind of rusty colour. Almost a rusty colour. The grey, I've got Elephant from Dina Wakley, yes, Dina Wakley, not Diane Reevely, that's what I was thinking. Dina Wakley Media, so that's Elephant, it's a light grey, it's near enough. And for the verdigris colour, which is copper oxide, the nearest I could find, which is possibly the same colour. Now bearing in mind this has been printed out, so the colour might not be as accurate as it would be or should be. I've got Sea Aqua, again from Deco, and that's probably a more accurate copper oxide colour or verdigris colour. So those are the 3 colours that I've pulled out of my stash. So just as I was talking to you guys, I did think about the rust paste. So let me just go over to my cupboard behind me and see if I can find it. There it is. Look, that didn't take too long. So this is a product which I've used before. Excuse me while I sit back down again. So this is called Rusty for Paper and More from Viva Decor, and this is a texture paste. It's got lumps in it, there's bits of grit and sand, but it's also that rust colour. So I think structure or texture paste and using the colour rust, I might actually be able to get away with incorporating some of this along with this into the background of my art journal page. So I think I've pretty much got everything. Making marks, the paint or paste, yes, I've got some, he says, Dina Wakley Media scribey things that I could scribe into. There's a flat one, a wide one, and 2 pointy bits. So I can use those for mark making. Industrial or mechanical elements. I've got a couple of chipboard or grunge board cogs that I cut these out ages and ages ago. I just never used them. I tend to cut these out en masse and then throw them in a box and then just dip into them whenever I need them. So there's my mechanical elements. Adding paint, quote or phrase, I've done that already. Add drips or spritz of water. That's just to create kind of like runs in the page. Focal image, got printed. I've got everything. I've got everything I need. So, words for inspiration. I think this month, this is probably going to be the only time I've never used a word from the words for inspiration. I've taken the majority of it from the colours and the actual bits and pieces that we're doing. So that's my 2019 Mission Inspiration Journal. I've got my sheet of watercolour cardstock already taken out. This is £140 or 300 GSM. It's textured on one side. You won't be able to see that, I don't think. I don't think the camera's going to pick that up. It's textured with a kind of like a linen texture on one side. Yeah, you can feel that, or you can hear the texture. On the other side, it's smooth. I'm going to use the smooth side. And again, I've printed the prompts off on a sheet of label paper, so I can, when I'm done, I can just peel the back off and stick this to the back of the art journal page, so I know what inspired the page on the reverse. So I think after that, that's nearly 5 minutes worth of waffle and talking. I've got my coffee at the ready. I'm going to get started. So I've gone through, like I said, the National Geographic, and I've pulled out a sheet, a magazine sheet that's got some nice kind of terracotta-y rusty colours on the one side already. So I'm going to just tear that just like that. So that's gonna pretty much, I can always trim off, it's not a problem if I've got too much. Let's just take a bit more off the top there, just to make this fit a bit better. Okay, so we've got that, so we'll tear a little bit down this side just to make sure we've got rough edges on each one. Okay, so we're okay top and bottom, left and right. We just need to open it out a little bit, because it does say, or the prompts do say, add torn magazine image fragments. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to tear this into strips. And open it out so it actually fits onto the page. So if we do that across there, just have a few gaps in between. I can jiggle them. If I have to put some more holes in, that's fine. I can manage that. Yeah. So I've opened that out now, so it's going to fill. So glue time. So I've got some matte medium. This is from Indigo Blue. This is what they call their Slap It On. Now, 9 times out of 10, the nozzle gets blocked with a little plug. There you go. So we'll just throw that bit away. Give it a shake. Probably going to need more than that, but that's fine. Right, I've got a paintbrush. So all I'm going to do now is just add these on. So watching glue dry isn't the most interesting thing on earth. So I will put this onto fast forward because I'm conscious of time, and I'll join you when I've got them all glued down. Okay, so my magazine fragments are completely dry. So let's go back to the list. So that's A, dunded. So let's have a look, what can we do now? So add paint with spatula or a flat edge. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. I want to add a kind of coat of paint along the bottom. So I'm going to take my rust colour, so the honey brown, put some down on the mat, and then I've got a spatula, and I'm just going to drag that now down page. And as you can see, it's doing just a kind of random pattern. There's no plan, there's no predefined lines for it to go into. It's total and utter chaos. So, hot look as to what your page will look like once you do this. And that's half the fun, is not knowing what you're going to be left with. So as you can see, as I've been going round, I've been turning the page just at 90s. So I get the paint going in different directions. So I'm swiping down the page as well as across, covering some of that National Geographic page and others. Got holes in between, which is great. And I think I'm happy with that, so I just have to clean off the spatula, which shouldn't take too long. Now you could use an old hotel room card or banker's card, or just a piece of cardboard if you don't have a spatula or a palette knife or something like that. You don't have to go out and spend a fortune. Just use a bit of an old cereal packet for your flat edge if you haven't got anything. Or even a knife. There you go. Okay, I'll get that dried off. Okay, so add paint with spatula or a flat edge. So that's that ingredient included, and we've added the rust colour. Still going to add some more to that though. So the next bit I'm going to do is add texture or structure paste coloured. So that's where I'm going to bring in that rusty stuff. I've also got the fractured, I think this is Fractured Circles, Dina Wakley Stencil. Fractured Circles, that's the one, yeah. That's from Dina Wakley Media. So for this, I'm going to just add a couple of these up into the corner using this texture paste. So I'll just mix it up because it does separate a little bit. You can see how, I won't say stiff, haha. It's quite thick. A little bit of texture to it, which is nice, but it's that beautiful kind of rust colour. So I'm going to just swipe that through this stencil. I'll do there. And then I'm going to add a little bit more, maybe maybe just here. Just turn it slightly. I'm going to be adding some more bits here, my industrial elements I've planned on putting there. So I'm just going to swipe that through, only lightly. I don't want to go too mad with it. And I'm not bothered if I don't get it exact or perfect, because, you know, art journal page. A wee bit messy, but you know, you take the rough with the smooth. Haha. And I want to add one more little bit. I just want to clear that space because I don't want to get it all underneath the page. Not that it makes any difference, but because it is the back, nobody really cares about the back, do they? It's just my OCD kicking in. And then again, I'm going to just add a little bit just here. Just a tiny, tiny amount. You don't want to do a lot. Again, like I said, I don't particularly want it 100% perfect. Okay, I'll just pop that to one side, lift that off, and again, just clear that, and then I've got a little bit of the texture paste in a place on the art journal page that I don't particularly want it. Just a little swipe there. And because it's coloured, I'm just going to blend it in. There. Nice. So, which is my, yeah, so I've got that the right way up now. That's fine. Now, because this is a texture paste, I do advise that you clean your spatula and your stencils straight away, because if it dries on there, you'll probably ruin the stencil and you'll never be able to use it again. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I've just cleaned that quickly with a wet wipe, and I'm going to run this under the tap and clean it off just by gently scrubbing with this old toothbrush under the running water until I've got rid of most of that texture paste. So once I've done that, I'll be right back, and that gives this a chance to dry at the same time. So I'll see you back in a mo. So while that's drying, I'm going to pop it to one side because I want to work on just a couple of the other elements that I've got here, these two or three little cogs. So I'll pop that to one side and bring these in. So I've got one of those blending foams, a Tim Holtzy blending foam, or a Ranger blending foam, or Tim Holtzy one. And again, I've got the rust paste. And I'm going to take a little bit of that rust paste, and I'm just going to go over these cogs. So just adding some of that rust texture to these. Now, I don't want to put my finger in there, so I'm just going to hold it down with an awl, and I'll just go over the top. That's it, just covering each one of those with a little bit of that rust paste. So we've got some nice kind of rusty cogs. A bit more paint, I think. So these blending foams are not just for ink, they can be used for paint and adding some real nice, like rust, rough texture onto elements. They'll pretty much withhold anything or withstand anything. And all I'm doing is just dabbing it into the paste, and then just pouncing or spouncing, if you like, which is evening out the texture, so you're not getting any ridges or lines, but you are getting the texture from the actual paint or the paste itself coming through. So this will look kind of rusty, when it's done. Granted, it's all one flat colour, which rust isn't normally, but we can add a little bit extra to that later. And if you go and run that under the tap, you'll probably be able to wash it all out. But I'm not going to, because I'm a wastrel, apparently. Right, let's push that to one side, get rid of that, just push those there. And then I can get this lot cleaned up and get those dried and put those to one side for use later in the project. Okay, so now that the rust paste has, dirty fingers, now that rust paste has dried, I want to just introduce a little bit of that grey colour. So I'm bringing in that Dina Wakley elephant, the elephant in the room. I'm just putting a little bit just on the mat. Again, I've got another blending foam. I'm just going to mix a little bit of that in, and then we're just going to go over and just add some of that grey, because I don't want it to look too new, if you like. Yeah. So that looks a little bit like rusted metal. A little bit. Or as rusty metal as pieces of cardboard are going to get. Okay, and now leave them to dry and put them to one side ready for later use. Okay, so we've added texture and structure paste. I've already started work on some of my industrial elements, which is cool. So the next thing that I want to do is just to look at the making the marks in paint or paste. So I don't know why that's curling, because there's residual heat there from when I've been using the heat gun. Okay, so what I want to do now is just bring in that grey elephant paint again. This time just add a little bit onto my mat, and then I'm going to use a free tool that everybody has in the house if you're at home, and that's your finger. So I'm now just going to start adding in a little bit of the grey. Just lightly into that background, and then just picking up a little bit of that texture paste. Just slide it around. Okay, so while that's still wet, just wipe that up quickly. So while that's still wet, I'm just going to use the tool and although it's not all that thick, I can still make marks with it. Just remember to clean it off, which I haven't done on previous uses. There we go. It's like it's like silicone rubber on the ends, so it should clean off. Yeah, it's just cleaning off really easy. Just try and remember to do it after each use. Okay, so get that dry. I know you can't really see it, but it is subtle. But adding bits to art journal pages doesn't have to be in your face all the time. You can just add small elements, small touches. They don't always have to be big and bold. Now that that's dry, we can tick that one off and ready, I think, to start adding in some of the final bits of colour, which are going to be that verdigris. So give that a shake. So this is the Sea Aqua, the nearest I've got to copper oxide. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that paint, and I want to grab the spatula and then just add some elements of that paint in. Maybe added a little bit too much up there, which is fine because part of the prompt is to add drips or spritz of water. So now I've got that paint on, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly loosen it up and then let it run. Yeah, me like. Just put that to one side a minute. Just grab some kitchen roll, take up the excess water, and while that's still wet, if you want, you can just grab a little bit more, and I think it needs just some more in this corner here. And then I'm going to spritz it and let it run. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to keep that horizontal now. Just put it to one side for a second. Grab some more kitchen roll, just to soak up that excess water, and then we can just get rid of that excess paint using that moist kitchen towel. And of course, remember to clean it with a spatula. Always forget to clean the edges, and then whenever you use it, I always cross-contaminate. There we go. Just bring that back in now that area is clear, and then we can get that dry. Okay, so that copper oxide colour has dried rather lovely on there. I think that looks like a fantastic sheet of rusted metal with a little bit of that verdigris kind of patina with that copper, those copper kind of swirls in there, which is a nice kind of mix together. Obviously it would never happen in real life, but it just looks good. So we've now added our drips spritz of water. We've used the grey and we've also used the verdigris. I think now we're just left with adding the focal image and adding the quote or phrase for journaling. So focal image next. Okay, so you all seem to like Mr. Fox that I did a few weeks ago, or a week or two ago. It's going cold. And I thought I would bring out one of his companions from a set that I got a long time ago. I can't remember where I got them from. So this is Mr. Owl. So I'm going to include him. He's a bit steampunk, so I like him for that. But also I've got this great teacup image. So Mr. Owl is on sticker paper, whereas the teacup isn't, because I've run out, pretty much. So what I can do is I've cut a slit in the top of the teacup, and I can position, it's not a strong adhesive, I can position my Mr. Owl inside the teacup, just like that, and then just gently push it down, and then grab some glue. In this case I've got some Tombow Clear, or the Aqua, and I can just add a little bit just under there. So that's going to hold the bottom part of Mr. Owl down, across the top of the cup, and then just add a little bit around the handle. Don't need to add any on the back of there because it's already sticky. And then I can turn that round, and then I can add my image onto my art journal page, like so, and just give it a gentle push. And that should stick down. Oh no! Phew. Quick save there. And then just pop that to one side, and then I can bring in my quote, which is there. So we've now got, I've added the focal image, so I'm going to come back to this mechanical elements number F, because we only did half of that, and then I'm going to add my quote or journal, a phrase, or journal, I can't speak. Ugh. To do that, I want to just grunge up the edges of my quote. Now, I did have somewhere, did I? Yes, I did. I've got Vintage Photo Distress ink. I know it's a water-based one, but I'm not really going to be doing much with this. This is pretty much, I'm not going to be adding any more colour now, so I think we're safe. Just load up that ink, and then I can just go around the edges and just kind of grungify them. Oop. Just taking away that stark whiteness. And when I printed these off on a little bit of cardstock, I didn't do it black. I've done them in like a dark grey, which is also in keeping with the colours. So because I'm going on the outside, I don't really have to add a dark or black border on this. You know, sometimes we go around our word blocks with a pen or pencil just to make them pop a little bit. Don't think I'm going to need that on this. I think that's pretty much it for that. Move those to one side, and then I can start sticking down where I want my quote to go. So put those there. Okay. I had an idea in my head where I wanted to place these, so there. Put that there. Doesn't matter if we don't get them quite straight. I quite kind of like them at a quirky angle. Apologies for not talking and concentrating, but you know me, I sometimes forget to talk. So paraphrasing a quote from Alice in Wonderland, I think it's the Mad Hatter that says that to her, I'm not quite sure, but I know it is, I think, from Alice in Wonderland. So there's the quote and the phrase. So apart from just adding on our mechanical elements now, so before I do that, I just want to add one last thing. I've got some metallic rich copper wax, and I'm just going to take a little bit on my finger. I'm just going to add a little bit just to the edges of those cogs. It smells like shoe polish. So I could use copper paint for this, but I bought this recently and I haven't used it yet, so why not? Just add a little bit of shine to the project. Just adds another element to it. A finishing touch, if you like. There we go. Nice little bit of shine. So I'll just clean my fingers. I suppose I should have really worn gloves to put that on. Okay. Cleared. This Excuse the rocking noise. There we go. Not easy to remove. Which tells you something. Right, put that away. Couldn't resist that though. Couldn't resist it. Okay, let's bring the art journal page back in. And let's get some of these little cogettes stuck down. A little one up there, just in with those circles that we put in with the Dina Wakeley stencil. And then, right, I have to be very careful here. Now I need my old punch. No, I had it the other day, there it is. Yeah. So I just need to redo those holes. So that's the holes back in, so that when I stick this down I can be very clever and make sure that I put it over the top of one of the holes so it's not going to interfere when I add it back into my journal. So let's get some glue on that. That should do it. Love that sheen. Probably will have to put something on top of that just to hold it down. There we go. That's heavy enough. Let's lay it flat. Glue there, and then I just add that as an additional accent there. I'll put that down there and just let that sit and dry for a minute or two, and then, in the words of Arnie, I'll be back. Okay, I think that they're actually all stuck down and I'm done. So I'll just tick that one off. Like I said, I haven't really used any of the words for inspiration, but instead of using the word explore, I've probably got the word adventure, which is almost, it's a tenuous one at best, but hey ho, I've still been inspired by the colours and by the steps. So it's still mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. So all I have to do now is just to peel the back off, flip my journal page over, and then I can just add that to the back of the page so that I know what steps I used for the art journal page. And then the final step for the day is just to grab my pen and then assign it and then put the date, and I'm done. So that's it for me. So don't forget, oh good grief, don't forget that this is for the Mission Inspiration Facebook group for September. If you'd like to play along, there's a link on the screen there, but there's also a clickable link in the description area below this video. So there's now over 4,000 people in the Facebook group, all sharing, supporting, giving hints, tips, ideas on a daily basis. So why not pop along and join us and see what other people are creating using those prompts too. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. It's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.